You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And power talks and truth, actually, is what makes you free. Well, welcome to Power Talks. This is Beth Ann, and welcome to Melody Cedarstrom, who's my co-host. We're going to try and bring you some truth and empower you with truth. Good morning, Melody.
And good morning to you, and good morning to the listeners. It's great to be here today, and we had a little bit of technical problems this morning, so you might sound a little different being on a telephone doing the broadcast. But,
that would be me. That would be me. So if that sounds different.
Living in that central Missouri there.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. The Russians are doing it.
The Russians did it again.
No, I didn't even pay
them.
I didn't even pay them. Did you pay them?
That's why they're doing this. We didn't pay them.
Oh, that's the problem. I see.
Didn't pay those nasty Russians.
Oh, gracious. Well, you know, we're at a disadvantage being on in the morning. Today, anyway. It seems like a lot of times, whenever they've got breaking news, it's always in the afternoon, and we miss it. We have to bring it up the next day when it's already been broke. But today, this afternoon at some point in time, or this morning later after our show, I'm not sure when they're going to do it, they're releasing the JFK document.
This is true.
So that's all we can say about it, because we don't know anything other than they are going to release them. Experts say there's 3,100 files that remain to be released. The National Archives has 30,000 more pages that were only partly released in the past. Anyway, I'm thinking that's a lot of paperwork, but, you know, it is government paperwork. So anyway,
Kept them employed for many years.
What's that? Yeah. They never talk about the red tape, though. They never talk about the red tape.
Oh, the red tape? Well, we don't want to talk about the red tape.
Do you remember where you were that day? I know you're younger than I am, but do you remember where you were that day?
Yes, I do. Do you want me to tell the story? I was in 4th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of the teacher's pet. And we were at recess.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
We were at recess, and everybody was outside, and I was in class helping my teacher. And I was actually cleaning the chalkboards. And the janitor came in and said, you know, did you hear this? As he was telling my teacher and myself. And the class came in from recess, and we were all dismissed for the rest of the day. So. Oh,
really?
We were sent home. Yeah.
Now, where did you live at that time?
I lived in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and went to Lindley Murray Elementary School. And so we basically had two first grades, you know, two classes for 1st through 6th was our class.
I remember I was in the 5th grade. Mrs. Higgins was my teacher. And I don't really exactly remember, other than you could hear the teachers were talking in the hallway, and they were all crying. Mm-hmm. I remember they were crying. They did not dismiss us early, though. We did, and I remember when I went home. Now, the school bus dropped us off, and we were a block or so from home. We had to walk a little ways to the house. Mom had been cleaning carpet that day. We had carpeting down, and she had newspapers all over. It was kind of a rainy day, and she had newspapers all over the floor there as we walked in. And it's funny how you remember those kind of strange things. But it was, you know, it was a day that pretty much anybody can remember where they were when we have those big catastrophes or tragedies. And, of course, then, you know, that was the news nonstop for a long time, for weeks, and the funeral and all that, you know. But anyway, I do remember it. I remember the teachers crying, and you know, just a kid, just a little brat kid. I was not the teacher's pet. Why does that not surprise me that you were?
I don't know. Me? What?
Cleaning the chalkboards.
Cleaning the chalkboards. See, I was always a worker. I'd rather be working than playing.
Didn't go outside and play?
Didn't go outside and play. Was inside. And she had eventually told me that I was one of the best students she ever had. And I can't remember her name. I think her name was Meinsler, Mrs. Meinsler.
Meinsler.
Meinsler. I think her, and I don't know why Mildred keeps popping into my head. I don't know if that was her first name but it keeps popping in my head. That's the one thing I don't remember. But, yeah, we do. And just like 9/11, we can all recall what we were doing, exactly what we were doing on 9/11. And
when the shuttle blew up, we remember where we were then. I mean, just different things we remember, you know. We might throw that question out to the listeners. Do you remember where you were that day? We don't want to comment necessarily on the day, but do you remember where you were that day when President JFK was assassinated? 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. It seems odd to me that I would remember that Mom was cleaning the carpet. We had to walk in the house on the newspaper, but for some reason that's all a part of that day, that memory. And it was rainy, and it was kind of cool, and I don't know. That's how I remember it anyway.
You know what's different between the Kennedy assassination and 9/11? I can remember details, and you're right. I can remember little details about that day. Not that day, but around that moment, like cleaning. I don't remember what was written on the chalkboard, but I mean, you remember all these little details. 9/11. Yes. 9/11, you kind of remember, I was watching the news, the morning reports like I always do, CNBC, and, but the surroundings, I knew where I was at and everything, but not to the details, I don't think. But anyway.
I was sitting in the office that was right across or next to Derry Brownfield because I was working for him at that time during 9/11, and you could hear everybody talking, and when they first said this, when they first talked about the towers, I was thinking the Sears Tower in Chicago. I don't know, but anyway, they had the newsroom, and we could go and kind of watch, and it was before showtime. If I remember right, it was before showtime, and anyway, I had, my son even called me and wanted to know, Mom, what's going on? I said, I don't know, but it's not good. I said, it's not good at all. And, anyway, I do remember that. I remember getting some phone calls from family, and I called Mom and Dad and told them to turn on the TV, and it was. I remember the day vividly, just sitting there, but I don't remember the details, like you said, as we do with when we were young, when JFK was assassinated. For some reason, I remember a lot of details with that.
Maybe because there was so much going on, at that time, because, it was, happening so much in real time that,
with 9/11, you mean?
With 9/11, we were more focused on what was happening versus our surroundings and so forth. And maybe when we were younger, you just didn't have that understanding,
I know. I knew what they were saying, but yet I didn't understand the impact of it, and I remember the teachers crying. I remember a couple of them, embracing each other in the hallway and just, and I can see now why they would be that way. I mean, if that happened now, I don't care who the president is, we're going to be upset. It's like it's happened to every single one of us. And because that is the head of this nation, whether you like it or not, some people say he's not my president. Yeah, he is. I didn't vote for President Barack Obama, but he was still my president. He was president of the United States. So, that's another thing that makes it so disheartening for me when some of these are saying things about assassination. I remember vividly the reaction of the teachers and how upset they were and the things that were going on back then, and I was just in the 5th grade. And for somebody to say that now, do they not realize that whether you like him or not, he is the head of this nation, and that is an attack on this nation if something happens to your president. So that's really disturbing to me that people would just flip that out even, as a comment, which they have in the past. So that's the question. I think we're just going to throw that out there today because we don't have any information yet. They haven't sent it out before we went on the air. Where were you? Do you remember what you were doing the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated? 717-300-1218.
And not only that, what do you think is actually in these additional papers? Anything?
Mm-hmm.
Anything? Or is it just, is it another distraction for for what's really going on around this.
But I do believe they need to be released. I think I'm done with these, with everybody having secrets. And if there's nothing in them, then why not put them out there? You know,
and I agree. But, I mean, it's just, is this another distraction at this point in time? Or, you know, and I agree, they should have been released a long time ago. But, and, you know, yesterday we mentioned that they were trying to, you know, still keep them secret for another 20 years. It's like, what's the point? But it'll be interesting to see if the listeners think there's any interesting things that we'll find out about.
A thought that I had as I was driving in this morning, and maybe that's something we should all think about, is, you know, his daughter is still living, has family, and how this is going to impact her, and to be thoughtful and in prayer for her today.
She probably has already seen the papers.
Yeah, but it's going to be all over the news again. I mean, it's all going to be out there, and I know she has she can just not turn it on. but I was just thinking about the family. You know, there isn't very many left. She's the only one left. So.
Yeah, but I think they're a little groomed to have a little more tougher skin, and you know, being in the positions and you know, and so forth, and being who they are. The Kennedys.
I still think if my daddy had been assassinated, it would bother me, and the fact that it's going to be released today, and I think it would still have some. I don't know that she's going to go into Great Depression, but I just thought it would be nice to kind of remember her. To think about that family. We all remember the pictures of John,
yes,
standing there with his mother. Yes. And I've lost her name. I've lost her name, Catherine. No, that's not it.
Caroline.
Caroline, thank you. Caroline.
Well, you are a year older than I am.
I know I am.
We do have a caller. We have Joe calling us this morning. Good morning,
Joe.
Yeah, good morning, Melody and Beth. I'd like to deal with the subject that you're talking about. And that's, I think there probably is something significant in these documents that are to be released today. And the reason I think there probably is number one, the media have been, you know, kind of holding out hope. They've been talking about it as if they hope that President Trump will actually decide to block the release of some of the documents. Mm-hmm. So that shows me that, you know, they might know that there is something significant that they're hoping that Trump will block. And the other thing is they also seem to be going to great lengths to downplay the idea that there's going to be anything significant in these documents. You know, any information that will confirm the conspiracy theorists and all this kind of stuff. You know, they're kind of poo-pooing the idea that there's anything significant, you know, new going to be learned from these documents, or that there's any significant information in them. So that kind of tells me that, yeah, probably there is some significant information in them. But, you know, but personally, I doubt that there'll be anything in them that's really new that hasn't already been discovered by other researchers, because, you know, there's been a lot of really smart people doing really thorough investigations. Of course, the media call them conspiracy theorists, you know. That's what they call people that take the time and make the effort to find out the real facts and dig up the real evidence, find out what the real truth is. And so, you know, there's been quite a number of them that have written books and made films and, you know, all this kind of stuff about the JFK assassination. And I think, you know, if a person really wants to look at what they've come up with and look at the facts that they've come up with and look at the dots they've connected and so on like that, you know, I think that pretty much without a doubt, you know, somebody can find out the real truth of who did it. And I don't think it was Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone. No, you know, but there is such a strong bias and prejudice in this culture that unless something comes from official sources, you know, then it's not really credible. And but what I've found is that if a person, what I found in life is that a person can learn absolutely marvelous, wonderful things if they will say to heck with the idea that, you know, somebody has to be an official source and have great credibility.
Joe, you're going to have to hold those thoughts because we're heading into a break right now. So we'll be right back after these short messages.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Yuji. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. We were visiting with Joe from Arkansas, and he was kind of reminiscing on what he thought was in the JFK files, what might be revealed today. It said here the one reason they didn't want to release them was that it was the concerns were the sources and the investigative techniques. That's why they were objecting to it. And I'm thinking, that was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure they've got different techniques of investigating these days. But anyway, go ahead, Joe.
Well, it sounds like if they're saying something like that, it sounds like there's something, information in those documents that they don't want the public to know. So they're coming up with some kind of excuse, some kind of plausible sounding excuse to say, to make it sound like there's some rational reason why these documents shouldn't be released. So, that makes me think that there might really be something significant in them. But anyway, just to finish up what I was saying, what I've found is that if a person is willing to, deal with things like facts and evidence and how well the dots are logically connected and results and evidence of what really happens when this and this is done and so on like that. If a person is willing to do that and not pay attention just to whether the person saying something, has, quote, official credibility or not, unquote, there's some quite marvelous things that can be learned. For instance, I've personally learned how to completely eliminate about 90% of human health problems. And, that's something that is, and not me, but other people too, and so that's something, where there's so much talk about how to get medical costs down and healthcare costs down and so on like that. And if 90% of human health problems were eliminated, that would do a lot to get medical costs down. But nobody pays attention to knowledge like that because the people that, know those kinds of things, tend to be people that don't have a lot of, quote, official credibility and so on like that. So people go on thinking that there's a lot of mysteries that have actually already been solved, just because the people, that have solved these mysteries aren't considered, quote, important people. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about that. I think most likely, if there is something significant in these documents, I think it'll probably confirm, what some of the very good investigators have discovered about the truth about the Kennedy assassination.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Joe. Do you want my conspiracy theory?
Yes, I do. Of course we do.
We were talking about the timing, and then we can move on, because I wanted to talk a little bit about the taxes of just the 401 retirement programs. So many people have them, but now we wondered why the timing, why this year, why now, it was a distraction and so forth. Well, we know there's a lot of investigations going on in D.C. right now, and a couple of little things that I was reading about the possibility of what are in these papers and so forth is how the investigations were bungled into his everything that they did, which is very similar to what Joe was saying, that maybe the FBI just kind of didn't follow through, didn't do this or something like that. So you might ask yourself, it kind of eliminates the credibility from these government agencies as far as their investigating abilities. So, maybe that could be implied to today's investigations, that the FBI is just, a bungling institution that is, no longer effective in today's world and so forth, and its politics as usual. That's what I was kind of thinking. Maybe they'd sort of connect the two together for some reason, and again, being a distraction. And who knows what these mainstream media politics and the liberal left would do and to try and make those types of connections and so forth. So there's always a reason behind everything, and particularly this situation, you have to wonder, why now? Why now? So maybe not. Maybe I'm just
I think, doesn't it come up for review as to whether to open it up every so many years, and it just happened to land now?
I don't think there's any. I'm just, like I said, I'm just too cynical for my own good.
Because they said, no, we need it to be, put away for another 20 years. Mm-hmm. Why would they say that? I was assuming it was every so many years that it came up for review, whether to open it or not open the files.
Perhaps.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a distraction. I think it needs to be done.
Oh, I agree.
We have an awful lot going on, and I was just thinking this morning, what if there is something in there? Look what's going on right now with all this corruption. Mm-hmm. It looks like, smells like, and I believe it's true that the Clintons have always been corrupt and have been selling the United States out for a long time. I believe that Hillary Clinton has dirt on everybody. That's why they keep putting up with her. I think when she stole those FBI files, I think she has things on people. I think she has things on the FBI. I think she has built her cartel for a long time, mm-hmm. and I think that's why she couldn't believe she lost. She had it bought and paid for. She'd been working at it for years, and they've built their wealth and everything on lies and deceit and corruption and money, pay for play and money laundering as well, probably. And they are not good people.
No, they're not.
And I don't know if anything's going to come of this, but it sure should. And so what if we find out something in this file, in the John F. Kennedy file, that it was something other than what the American people had been told all these years? And it's just interesting. I'm not trying to be a theorist. I'm trying to think outside the box. And what if? I mean, we talk about a collapse happening. What if something really is in there? What if some other things are divulged and come to be through all this other chaos that we've got, the corruption that is being revealed right now? The informant's going to he's been cleared to testify before Congress. What all is he going to tell? And, I'm worried about the man's life or the woman's life. I don't know which it is, but what all is going to happen. And things are so unstable right now, it's kind of difficult to think about what might happen.
It truly is. And it's going to be real interesting once they are released. Do you know what time of day they're to be released? Or?
No, I don't. Let me see if it says in that article. I already kind of buried that. I think it just says today. No, it doesn't give a time. I don't see a time on it. So if it's happening and you're out there listening, you let us know. 717-300-1218.
It'll probably be after 4 o'clock after the markets close, as they.
No, that might be. That might be the case. I don't know. It doesn't tell a time on this. I only have one article. There were several, but they were pretty much just, it's going to happen today. That's all it was really saying. It doesn't give a time. It has the tweet that President Trump released yesterday that he was going to do it today. Because he could have changed his mind. I guess he still could change his mind. But it doesn't give a time of the day that it's going to be done. Just that it's going to happen today. So,
well, there's been lots of talk about these tax cuts and so forth, and they're really trying to. We basically saw, the disruption in the Senate and everything with 2 senators stepping down and so forth. And but what's interesting, and you're really not quite sure, because there was a lot of discussions about how they were going to change the 401 retirement accounts, the 401k retirement accounts, to help finance these tax cuts. Now, President Trump said, no, they're not going to be touched. They will remain untouched. Because he insists that the middle class favors these 401ks. But when you go on and you read what some of these politicians, Representative Kevin Brady, he's the chairman of the House Tax Writing Panel, he still wouldn't rule out changes. This program, the 401k, is used by 55 million U.S. workers, and it holds some $5 trillion in those accounts. And we've been telling our listeners on Financial Survival for years and years and years, folks, they're not going to leave that money untouched. I don't care if it's your 401s. I don't care if it's your IRAs. I don't care if it's your CDs. I don't care if it's your bank accounts. If you got money in there, the country is desperate. We are in debt. And they really want these tax cuts because they really believe it's going to have in part a trickle down and broaden the revenue base and so forth to help us with our debt. Well, they have to have these tax cuts paid for. So they're looking at the 401k accounts. And again, Mr. Trump promised the program would be left alone. And he sort of bolstered that pledge yesterday, saying that he was going to move swiftly to end speculation, that the tax-deferred program may be changed because it's vital for working Americans. So he's moving to swiftly end the speculation. But then he went on and said, when he was asked about the Brady's comments that I just read to you, he says maybe it is, and maybe we'll use that as negotiating. So he put it on the table. He took it off the table, then he put it back on the table as perhaps that'll be something that they'll negotiate with. He says, but trust me, there are certain elements of deals you don't want to negotiate with. Kevin knows it, referencing to Representative Kevin Brady, the chairman of the House Tax Writing Panel. He says, Kevin knows it, and I think Kevin Brady is fantastic, but he knows how important 401ks are. But it goes on and this article talks about other Republican senators signaled that they would vote for the tax bill even if it crimped the 401k tax benefits. So the nearly $6 trillion GOP plan calls for steep tax cuts for corporations and promised reductions for middle income taxpayers. And this article goes on, and it does talk about other senators. Orrin Hatch of Utah also indicated that possible changes to the 401k remains on the table. He's open to looking at anything. There was another senior member of the Senate Finance Committee, Chuck Grassley, and, I'm not fans of these guys, but he went further on, and he says he's opposed to reducing the benefits, but he would vote for such a bill if the overall legislation brought the needed tax overhaul and cuts. We've got to have tax reform, he said, and I can't fall on the sword for one issue. They really don't care about your 401k retirement accounts. All they care about is getting these tax reductions through, these tax bills through. And again, it should show and tell people just how desperate they are because they know the type of situation that we are in this country. They desperately need something to keep this economy going. And they are willing to change your 401k structure in order to get tax cuts. So, folks, if you think you have your money sitting there and you feel safe about it, and I do believe, Mr. Trump, that it would be the last thing that they would try and touch. But if that's what it takes to get it through, because they need the revenue to pass these tax cuts, they need money somewhere. They didn't get it through repealing Obamacare and some other places. So, you got your money sitting there. It's like, well, they won't mind. They're getting tax cuts, right? So, again, you have to protect your own retirement accounts because no one else is going to do it for you. And all these pension accounts, and they're all underfunded. States, I saw an article. I didn't pull it up and read it, but it was talking about how great things are because the food stamp programs are being decreased. Which I'm sure it has something to do with the limited illegal aliens coming into this country. That probably has an impact on it. Also, you have how many cities in this country? Hartford. You have the state of Illinois. You have Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They're not paying some of their social programs. They don't have the money to pay them. So did that impact some of those folks that get food stamps? And, people rejoice saying, it's because there's jobs coming back to this country. People are now working, that they're falling off. They don't need food stamps anymore. Or is it because you have programs that are just not getting paid for because there's no money? And so it's not a choice of the people coming off of the programs, but they're being forced off because there's no money. So things to think about. This economy in this country, we're at, we have severe problems to face in the very near future. And yes, the stock markets are roaring, meeting record highs, but that's not what this economy and not what people work so hard for is all about. So it's your choice, folks.
Well, and we need to be prepared, don't we?
Yeah, and I saw there was something that, I lost my page, but the headline of this article just kind of froze up. Social Security, let me see if I can pull it up here real quick, now topped $1 trillion. The Social Security Administration for 2017, the Social Security Administration is spending topped $1 trillion for the first time. That was 37 times as much as the Department of State spent during the year, 32 times as much as the Department of Justice spent, and 20 times as much as the Department of Homeland Security. And it's about 76% more than the federal government spent on the Department of Defense and military programs during the year. And the only program that absorbed more money than the Social Security Administration in fiscal 2017 was the Department of Health and Human Resources, Department of Health and Human Services, which spent $1.116 trillion. So, yeah, it sounds like this is a great things are just booming in this country, isn't it? And they blame the baby boomers, Social Security always blame us.
Well, yeah. Well, we kind of are to blame, aren't we? A little bit. I read where...
No, we're not. No, we're not to blame. The government is to blame for the irresponsibility of managing the funds and putting in IOUs and spending it to keep this country going back in the 90s, and everyone else has done it for how long? I mean, it was a program meant to fail, just like Obamacare was a program meant to fail. And we put money into the Social Security program, but there's a lot of people that are getting Social Security that haven't put money in, and so it isn't us. It's the irresponsible government.
Well, they just spend, and they make all these programs and departments that spend even more and regulate and tax and license and all this and that to the American people. I've got an article in it's very brief. It was I was a little bit surprised by it. Not terribly a lot, but I was a little bit surprised. But it's a Fox poll. It says the Trump approval ratings are slipping. And it's they claim it's, of course, they give it all different kinds of numbers, but 38%. It says President Donald Trump's approval rating slid 5 percentage points from 1 month ago, according to a new Fox poll released yesterday. It says 38% of registered voters polled said they approve of the job the president is doing, compared to 42% in late September. 57% say they disapprove, compared to 53% 1 month ago. 49% of voters said that they disapprove of the way Trump is handling the economy, compared to 44% who say they approve. On taxes, it says 51% say they disapprove, while 31% said they approve. I think it's interesting that they'll all, of course, it all goes to the top. Whoever's in charge. But who's really the ones in charge, and who are really the ones that are either allowing bad policy or blocking good policies? And it goes on here and says in North Korea, 59% of the voters said they disapprove of the way the president is handling the issue, with just 35% saying they approve. Trump also got disapproval marks on health care, 60% disapproval, and Iran, 55%. I thought that was interesting. I don't know why they give all those different things. I guess because what is it you like and don't like about him? But all the things they were talking about, and I don't know how the man could have a good approval rating or anything honest with all that's going on in the media, the mainstream media. They have nothing good to say, and they manipulate. They just lie. I don't know how else to put it. They just lie. And Fox News, lately they seem to be reporting more on what mainstream media is reporting than they are on the news, and it just gets kind of frustrating. They do give some things. I thought Tucker Carlson had a pretty good show last night. He was talking about what's going on with, I've got it here, totally a different topic here, I'm sorry. But he was talking about the Las Vegas security guard. And, so much is unknown about him. And when he goes, this is really a short article, but Jesus Campos is the eyewitness, and he left the country. It says but he says at the end of the article, he says, we could go on. He said, the point is, this story, meaning the Las Vegas shooting, gets murkier by the day. That's the opposite of what's supposed to happen. It's impossible to know exactly what's going on the Vegas shooting investigation, but it's obvious there's lying and incompetence at the heart of it. And it is. It's either incompetence or cover-up or lying or all of the above. But I don't know if you saw this guy when he was on Ellen's show. I don't watch Ellen's show, but they showed it on the Fox News. Like I said, they give more about what's on the other news channels. And lately, here's what they're saying. Here's what they're saying.
Well, the whole investigation in Las Vegas, I mean, it was, there's so much information that is being withheld and so forth. But my first thought,
or not being
when
learned.
when I first learned that there was a security guard that got shot in the leg, and you have a mad gunman on the other side of the door, and he shoots over 200 rounds into the hallway, and the guard got shot in the leg. Are you kidding me? To me that was just like, well, he had to be in on it.
Well, and Tucker was saying, and some of the others last night were saying, if he'd have got shot like they've been claiming through the door with the power of the gun that
I know
what's his face had, that he wouldn't even have legs, more or less be fit to travel.
I know. So that was my whole. And you know what? I'm a girl, and I thought that from day one. How many weeks ago? Yeah. And, it's just like, no, 1 and 1 is not equaling 2. There's a lot of other things that don't equal, what it should coming out of that investigation. But that security guard for one is like,
but,
what?
It's, they've gone on and on. They just keep throwing stuff out there. And, we're not learning anything. It's getting worse is what Tucker's saying. And that's exactly right. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. They're not figuring anything out. It's getting worse, which makes you very suspicious.
Absolutely. So
I don't know what to be suspicious of, though. What?
So either it's a cover-up or they're totally incompetent. So I guess people
both.
Can choose which they. But yeah,
maybe they're really incompetent at covering up.
Yeah, I saw something about his laptop is missing its hard drive. Okay. Really? But yet they had already said that they had checked out his computer and didn't find anything. Now all of a sudden his hard drive is missing.
Well, if I understood right last night, they said there was a second house, and I think we've talked about that before, that there was a second house. He had more than one house. Mm-hmm. This guy was rich. So to say he did this for somebody had made up the theory that he was dying for some reason, and he wanted to get the money. Somebody paid him to do this, and he was going to make sure his family was taken care of. And they said, well, that doesn't fit the scenario either, because he was already wealthy. His family could already be taken care of. It didn't make any sense. Of course, he could go out, I guess, in a blaze of glory, if that's what you call that. I hear music.
Yes,
I'm kind of at a disadvantage here. I'm the one having phone issues, so I'm kind of at a disadvantage. But I do hear music, and we are going into a break. We've been talking about the JFK. We've been talking about the tax reform and the economy, and just all kinds of absurdities. Do we even recognize it as free America anymore? 717-300-1218, and Melody and Beth Ann will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our Listen and Schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Well, again, I'm Melody Cedarstrom, and I'm here with my co-host, Beth. I'm not sure if she's there or not.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Well, we're back.
Okay, yeah. I had my phone down because I was still trying to connect.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I thought I had another minute yet.
I just wanted to go back, and you said they had those polls about Trump and his... But in support of Trump, his followers, he's still getting 80+% of approval rating. So
this poll was taken. It was only 1,005 registered voters. So I don't even know that's worth even looking at. So I don't know why they even threw it out there other than to. And this is a Fox poll, so I'm thinking, why did they even throw it out there to show such a bad rating? Because I don't think that's. I don't think everybody's upset with Trump as much as they are at Congress. Or at least they shouldn't be. If they are, they're looking at the wrong source of irritation because. Congress is the ones that are always there. Presidents come and presidents go, and yes, they can make an impact, but Congress are the ones that stay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But, so those polls are a little, we have a country that's divided. You can see the 38% when you're questioning both parties and, so forth. But as far as his base, I guess, his supporters, there's still a high approval rating for what he is doing, and and I'd have to say I was watching a non-Fox program, and they had actually brought both polls, so I thought that was kind of interesting too. So, but anyway, I just wanted to make that a little bit of a cheerier report than what it sounded, and because there's things I disagree with them, and sometimes I question a lot, but there's a lot of things that good that he has done, and he is the president of this country.
I mean, even the tax reform, it's not everything we'd like it to be, but it's going to be something. And
but the thing of it is with tax. The thing of it is when we have tax reform, when we have this much debt, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. But it might help a few people. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
True. Get this. They're going to give us money back. They want to give us money back. They want to give us money back, but hopefully it widens the base so they can, and they'll go into debt by giving us money back, but hopefully they're going to be building the base so they can take the money back to pay. Anyway, I just came across this article that I thought was kind of interesting. We talked about it on my other show, Financial Survival, and it was about how Saudi Arabia they made an announcement of building a $500 billion city. And, within it, it's going to be a whole new government. It's going to be a whole different world, basically for the wealthy. You're only going to be able to go there if you can, probably have billions of dollars to live there. But they made this other announcement today that Saudi Arabia becomes the first country to grant citizenship to a robot. And I'm just thinking, I
don't see anything going wrong with that, do you?
Well, since they made everyone able to marry everyone, pretty soon we'll be marrying robots, and I think people already are. But we have a caller.
Does that mean, okay.
We have a caller. We have Alex from Canada. Welcome to the program, Alex.
Well, thank you. Good morning. I just wanted to Mary Beth, thank you. I just wanted to go back to your original subject of where you were in 1963.
Oh, when JFK was assassinated, yes.
Yes, and I'm calling from British Columbia, Canada. So it's a small thing, not what happened, but, the personal thing. But I was 8 years old and attending a small Catholic school, and, of course, media wasn't, we didn't have even a radio, I think, but the nuns took us down to the little hall we had, and basically they had us all on our knees, and we were praying for the president at that point, because it was somewhat of a world-shaking thing, I guess. And 8 years old is quite young, and I remember as we were kneeling, and finally they announced at one, and it was one of the first times I actually prayed in a very strong way. And of course, this whole thing with I guess I'm going to add this because it's just the first opportunity I really had to call into your show, because, of course, I find it very valuable listening to it. I first found Financial Survival several months ago, and I was just very pleased that I eventually found your new show, what you both are doing. And I guess I look back at it. I wasn't aware at that point, of course, of the Catholicism thing, of course, because I'm certainly not Catholic anymore, and I'm not angry with the Catholics particularly. I just found them to be very poor teachers, especially the thing that they taught us every morning, religion, was very poorly taught. But being 8 years old, the other thing from America, of course, because we did receive American television, and the American television and the media and what was happening, of course, I still remember the Cuban Missile Crisis from television and, and war. And, yes, just thank you for allowing me to contribute. And, being on my knees, it was still one of the first times I remember praying. And this is, from a young and relatively innocent person trying to sort out some of these world issues and the violence and, the complexities of things. So thank you very much. I appreciate that you let me call.
Oh, no, you're welcome. We appreciate your call.
Alex, thank you for sharing that with us.
Great.
Pardon?
No, I'm listening.
And I want to thank you for calling in and sharing that with us. I mean, you brought a tear to my eye because, prayer and on knees at such a little age, it's something we all need to do today. And from being from British Columbia, and it's one thing a radio host isn't supposed to be is, sometimes you're just, at a loss of words. And but I do thank you, and thank you for calling us, and thank you for listening to the programs. And
he said that he was 8. I know that you were 9. I was 10. I'm not liking the way this is going.
Yeah.
And,
do we have anybody older than Beth to call in?
But to put it in perspective, I'm thinking of my grandchildren and my little my granddaughter, who I call my mini-me. She's 10. So that's where I would have been at that time. I'd have been her age. That age of innocence, all you're wanting to do, unless you're Melody and you're, kissing up to the teacher, you want to go outside and have fun on the playground, and that's what you do. But I think about the innocence, and I've got a granddaughter that's 8 and a grandson, and and I've got some that are 9, so I've got them in all those ages, and I'm thinking about where they are in their little lives, and where I was at that time in my life, and you were, and Alex was, and it's it's amazing to look back and think about that.
I want to do a comparison with, the assassination of the president and 9/11. Alex was 8, and it shows that there was a worldly impact, even for 8-year-olds. I wonder if there was the same impact on 9/11 on 8-year-olds around the world. Or is it even? Is there really a comparison to be noted at all? I don't know. I just kind of popped in my head because we were sort of doing a comparison between 9/11 and we knew where we were at and so forth. And I wonder if the 8-year-olds on 9/11 remember where they were at, like Alex does, and we do for the Kennedy assassination. But I guess we'll never know because we're out of time, Beth.
We are out of time. Well, I actually had some, my children they weren't that young when 9/11 hit, but I can tell you it made an impact. I remember going to football games, and I remember the skies being empty of airplanes for that week, and for a few days anyway, and it was a different world there for just a little bit.
Over there.
Yeah, we are out of time for today, and we will be here tomorrow to bring in another day. Maybe we'll have a little more information on the JFK file by then. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.